Today's reading is the beginning of Amos Tutuola's novel, The Palm Wine Drinkard. This is the first 10 pages or so. I was a palm wine drinkard since I was a boy of 10 years of age. I had no other work more than to drink palm wine in my life. In those days we did not know other money except cowries, so that everything was very cheap, and my father was the richest man in our town. My father got 8 children, and I was the eldest among them. All of the rest were hard workers, but I myself was an expert palm wine drinkard. I was drinking palm wine from morning till night, and from night till morning. By that time I could not drink ordinary water at all except palm wine. But when my father noticed that I could not do any work more than to drink, he engaged an expert palm wine tapster for me. He had no other work more than to tap palm wine every day. So my father gave me a palm tree farm, which was 9 miles square, and it contained 560,000 palm trees. And this palm wine tapster was tapping 150 kegs of palm wine every morning. But before 2 o'clock p.m., I would have drunk all of it. After that, he would go and tap another 75 kegs in the evening, which I would be drinking till morning. So my friends were uncountable by that time, and they were drinking palm wine with me from morning till a late hour in the night. But when my palm wine tapster completed the period of 15 years that he was tapping the palm wine for me, then my father died suddenly, and when it was the 6th month after my father had died, the tapster went into the palm tree farm on a Sunday evening to tap palm wine for me. When he reached the farm, he climbed one of the tallest palm trees in the farm to tap palm wine, but as he was tapping on it, he fell down unexpectedly and died at the foot of the palm tree as a result of injuries. As I was waiting for him to bring the palm wine, when I saw that he did not return in time, because he was not keeping me long like that before, then I called 2 of my friends to accompany me to the farm. When we reached the farm, we began to look at every palm tree. After a while, we found him lying under the palm tree, where he fell down and died. But what I did first when we saw him dead there was that I climbed another palm tree, which was near the spot. After that, I tapped palm wine and drank it to my satisfaction before I came back to the spot. Then both my friends who accompanied me to the farm and I dug a pit under the palm tree that he fell down as a grave and buried him there. After that, we came back to the town. When it was early in the morning of the next day, I had no palm wine to drink at all, and throughout the day I felt not so happy as before. I was seriously sat down in my parlor, but when it was the 3rd day that I had no palm wine at all, my friends did not come to my house again. They left me there alone, because there was no palm wine for them to drink. But when I completed a week in my house without palm wine, then I went out, and I saw one of them in the town, so I saluted him. He answered, but he did not approach me at all. He hastily went away. Then I started to find out another expert palm wine tapster, but I could not get me one who could tap the palm wine to my requirement. When there was no palm wine for me to drink, I started to drink ordinary water, which I was unable to taste before, but I did not satisfy with it as palm wine. When I saw that there was no palm wine for me again, and nobody could tap it for me, then I thought within myself that old people were saying that the whole people who had died in this world did not go to heaven directly, but they were living in one place somewhere in this world. So that I said that I would find out where my palm wine tapster who had died was. One fine morning, I took all my native juju and also my father's juju with me, and I left my father's hometown to find out whereabouts was my tapster who had died. But in those days there were many wild animals, and every place was covered with thick bushes and forests. Again, towns and villages were not near each other as nowadays, and I was traveling from bushes to bushes and from forests to forests, and sleeping inside it for many days and months. I was sleeping on the branches of trees, because spirits, etc., were just like partners, and to save my life from them. and again I could spend 2 or 3 months before reaching a town or a village. Whenever I reached a town or a village, I would spend almost 4 months there to find out my palm wine tapster from the inhabitants of that town or village, and if he did not reach there, then I would leave there and continue my journey to another town or village. After the 7th month that I had left my hometown, I reached the town and went to an old man. This old man was not really a man, he was a god, and he was eating with his wife when I reached there. When I entered the house, I saluted both of them. They answered me well, although nobody should enter his house like that, as he was a god, but I myself was a god and a juju man. Then I told the old man, God, that I am looking for my palm wine tapster who had died in my town some time ago. He did not answer to my question, but asked me first what was my name. I replied that my name was Father of Gods, who could do everything in this world. Then he said, Was that true? And I said, Yes. After that he told me to go to his native blacksmith in an unknown place, or who was living in another town, and bring the right thing that he had told the blacksmith to make for him. He said that if I could bring the right thing that he told the blacksmith to make for him, then he would believe that I was the Father of the Gods who could do everything in this world, and he would tell me where my tapster was. Immediately this old man told or promised me so. I went away, but after I had traveled 1 mile away, then I used one of my juju, and at once I changed into a very big bird, and flew back to the roof of the old man's house. But as I stood on the roof of his house, many people saw me there. They came nearer and looked at me on the roof. So when the old man noticed that many had surrounded his house and were looking at the roof, he and his wife came out from the house, and when he saw me, bird, on the roof, he told his wife that he had not sent me to his native blacksmith. If he had not sent me to his native blacksmith to bring the bell that he had told the blacksmith to make for him, he would tell me to mention the name of the bird. But at the same time that he said so, I knew what he wanted from the blacksmith, and I flew away to his blacksmith. Then when I reached there, I told the blacksmith that the old man, God, told me to bring his bell which he had told him to make for him. So the blacksmith gave me the bell. After that, I returned to the old man with the bell, and when he saw me with the bell, he and his wife were surprised and also shocked at that moment. After that, he told his wife to give me food, but after I had eaten the food, he told me again that there remained another wonderful work to do for him, before he would tell me whereabouts my tapster was. When it was 6:30 a.m. of the following morning, he, God, woke me up and gave me a wide and strong net which was the same in color as the ground of that town. He told me to go and bring Death from his house with the net. When I left his house or the town about a mile, there I saw a junction of roads, and I was doubtful when I reached the junction. I did not know which was Death's road among these roads. And when I thought within myself that as it was the market day and all the market goers would soon be returning from the market, I lied down on the middle of the roads. I put my head to one of the roads, my left hand to one, right hand to another one, and both my feet to the rest. After that, I pretended as I had slept there. But when all the market goers were returning from the market, they saw me lie down there, and shouted thus, Who was the mother of this fine boy? He slept on the roads and put his head towards Death's road. Then I began to travel on Death's road, and I spent about 8 hours to reach there. But to my surprise, I did not meet anybody on this road until I reached there, and I was afraid because of that. When I reached Death's, house, he was not at home by that time. He was in his yam garden, which was very close to his house, and I met a small rolling drum in his veranda. Then I beat it to Death as a sign of salutation. But when he, Death, heard the sound of the drum, he said thus, Is that man still alive or dead? Then I replied, I am still alive, and I am not a dead man. But at the same time that he heard so from me, he was greatly annoyed, and he commanded the drum with a kind of voice that the strings of the drum should tighten me there. As a matter of fact, the strings of the drum tightened me so that I was hardly breathing. When I felt that these strings did not allow me to breathe, and again every part of my body was bleeding too much, then I commanded myself the ropes. Then I myself commanded the ropes of the yams in his garden to tight him there, and the yams in his garden to tight him there, and the yam stakes should begin to beat him also. After I had said so, and at the same time, all the ropes of the yams in his garden tighted him hardly, and all the yam stakes were beating him repeatedly. So when he, Death, saw that these stakes were beating him repeatedly, then he commanded the string of the drum which tighted me to release me, and I was released at the same time. But when I saw that I was released, then I myself commanded the ropes of the yams to release him, and the yam stakes to stop beating him, and he was released at once. After he was released by the ropes of the yams and the yam stakes, he came to his house and met me at his veranda. Then we shook hands together, and he told me to enter the house. He put me to one of his rooms, and after a while he brought food to me, and we ate it together. After that we started conversations which went thus. He, Death, asked me from where did I come. I replied that I came from a certain town which is not so far from his place. Then he asked, what did I come to do? I told him that I had been hearing about him in my town and all over the world, and I thought within myself that one day I should come and visit, or to know him personally. After that he replied that his work was only to kill people in the town of the world. After that he replied that his work was only to kill the people of the world. And after that he replied that his work was only to kill the people of the world. After that he got up and told me to follow him, and I did so. He took me around his house and his yam garden too. He showed me the skeleton bones of human beings which he had killed since a century ago, and showed me many other things also. But there I saw that he was using skeleton bones of human beings as fuel woods, and skull heads of human beings as his basins, plates, and tumblers, etc. Nobody was living near or with him there. He was living lonely. Even bush animals and birds were very far away from his house. So when I wanted to sleep at night, he gave me a wide black cover cloth, and then gave me a separate room to sleep inside. But when I entered the room, I met a bed which was made with bones of human beings. But as this bed was terrible to look at or to sleep on it, I slept under it instead, because I knew his trick already. Even as this bed was terrible, I was unable to sleep under as I lied down there because of fear of the bones of human beings. But I lied down there awoke. To my surprise was it that when it was about 2 o'clock in the midnight, there I saw somebody enter the room cautiously with a heavy club in his hands. He came nearer to the bed on which he had told me to sleep, then he clubbed the bed with all his power. He clubbed the center of the bed thrice, and he returned cautiously. He thought that I had slept on the bed, and he thought also that he had killed me. But when it was 6 o'clock early in the morning, I first woke up and went to the room in which he slept. I woke him up, so when he heard my voice he was frightened. Even he could not salute me at all when he got up from his bed, because he thought that he had killed me last night. But the second day that I slept there, he did not attempt to do anything again. But I woke up by 2 o'clock of that night, and went to the road which I should follow to the town, and I traveled about a quarter of a mile to his house. Then I stopped and dug a pit of his, Death's size, on the center of that road. After that I spread the net on which the old man gave me to bring him, Death, with on that pit. Then I returned to his house, but he did not wake up as I was playing this trick. When it was 6 o'clock in the morning, I went to his door and woke him up as usual. Then I told him that I wanted to return to my town this morning, so that I wanted him to lead me a short distance. Then he got up from his bed, and he began to lead me as I told him. But when he led me to the place that I had dug, I told him to sit down, so I myself sat down on the roadside. But as he sat down on the net, he fell into the pit, and without any ado I rolled up the net with him and put him on my head, and I kept going to the old man's house, who told me to go and bring him death. As I was carrying him along the road, he was trying all his efforts to escape or to kill me, but I did not give him a chance to do that. When I had traveled about 8 hours, then I reached the town and went straight to the old man's house, who had told me to go and bring death from his house. When I reached the old man's house, he was inside his room. Then I called him and told him that I had brought death, and that I had brought death that he told me to go and bring. But immediately he heard from me that I had brought death, and when he saw him on my head, he was greatly terrified, and raised alarm that he thought nobody could go and bring death from his house. Then he told me to carry him, Death, back to his house at once. And he, old man, hastily went back to his room and started to close all his doors and windows. But before he could close 2 or 3 of his windows, I threw Death down before his door, and at the same time that I threw him down, the net cut into pieces, and Death found his way out. Then the old man and his wife escaped through the windows, and also the whole people in that town ran away for their lives and left their properties there. The old man had thought that Death would kill me if I went to his house, because nobody could reach Death's house in return, but I had known the old man's trick already. So that since the day that I had brought Death out from his house, he has no permanent place to dwell or stay, and we are hearing his name about in the world. This was how I brought out Death to the old man, who told me to go and bring him before he, old man, would tell me whereabouts my palm wine tapster was that I was looking for before I reached that town and went to the old man. But the old man, who had promised me that if I could go to Death's house and bring him, he would tell me whereabouts my palm wine tapster was, could not wait and fulfill his promise, because he himself and his wife were narrowly escaped from that town. Then I left the town without knowing where my tapster was, and I started another fresh journey. When it was the 5th month since I had left that town, then I reached another town which was not so big, although there was a large and famous market. At the same time that I entered the town, I went to the house of the head of the town, who received me with kindness, into his house. After a little while he told one of his wives to give me food, and after I had eaten the food, he told his wife to give me palm wine too. I drank the palm wine to excess, as when I was in my town, or as when my tapster was alive. But when I tasted the palm wine given to me there, I said that I got what I wanted here. After I had eaten the food and drunk the palm wine to my satisfaction, the head of the town, who received me as his guest, asked for my name. I told him that my name was called Father of Gods, who could do anything in this world. As he heard this from me, he was soon faint with fear. After that, he asked me what I came to him for. I replied that I was looking for my palm wine tapster, who had died in my town some time ago. Then he told me that he knew where the tapster was. After that, he told me that if I could help him to find out his daughter, who was captured by a curious creature from the market which was in that town, and bring it to him, then he would tell me whereabouts my tapster was. He said furthermore that as I called myself Father of Gods who could do anything in this world, this would be very easy for me to do. He said so. I did not know that his daughter was taken away by a curious creature from the market. I was about to refuse to go and find out his daughter, who was taken away from the market by a curious creature, when I remembered my name. I was about to refuse to go and find out his daughter, who was taken away from the market by a curious creature, but when I remembered my name, I was ashamed to refuse. So I agreed to find out his daughter. There was a big market in this town from where the daughter was captured, and the market day was fixed for every 5th day, and the whole people of that town, and from all the villages around the town, and also spirits and curious creatures from the various bushes and forests, were coming to this market every 5th day to sell or buy articles. By 4 o'clock in the evening, The market would close for that day, and then everybody would return to his or her destination, or to where he or she came from. But the daughter of the head of that town was a petty trader, and she was due to be married before she was taken away from the market. Before that time, her father was telling her to marry a man, but she did not listen to her father. When her father saw that she did not care to marry anybody, he gave her to a man for himself, but this lady refused totally to marry that man who was introduced to her by her father, so that her father left her to herself. This lady was very beautiful as an angel, but no man could convince her for marriage. So, one day she went to the market on a market day, as she was doing before, or to sell her articles as usual. On that market day she saw a curious creature in the market, but she did not know where the man came from, and never knew him before.